Dr. Traveler, and this is Dr. Run, Think, Pray. Sorry I haven't been on for a little while. I took some time off for the holidays. We just had New Year's and Christmas, and I know a lot of people say you gotta be consistent. I'm all for being consistent, but I had some, some family time. I thought I would kind of relax a little bit, and sorry, I'm out on my walk. I'm on a trail, and there is a road, and there may be people walking by or riding their bikes. But in the last little bit, as far as patients coming in, I've had a few different thoughts, and a lot of the thoughts that I've had are thoughts that I share with patients on a regular basis, but I had never shared them here, and I thought, really, these are, a lot of the thoughts that I think are a lot of value, and I was a little disappointed that I hadn't shared some of these thoughts just yet, because they really have been a lot of the principles that I have my own life revolve around. And that is, well, I guess we could call the topic of today's discussion stress, right? I always hate starting something with a negative, and stress is definitely, well, chronic stress is known as a bad thing, and it is. Chronic stress is bad, but the reason why I want to kind of title it that way is the way that we think of stress, and really, if you want to be your healthiest, in my opinion, you want to try to eliminate as much stress in your life as you can. But my thoughts that I wanted to share today were on the types of stress that there are, and ways maybe that you may not be thinking about stress that could be causing illness, causing sickness, causing lack of happiness maybe in your life, and wanted to hit on each of those. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is that there's not, so when we think of stress, and when I say the word stress, automatically I think what pops into people's minds is, emotional stress, that they're stressed about work, or they're really busy. If you're a student, you've got tests. And so you think of this stress that life happens to you, and that is a huge part of it. But really, when you think about stress, that is only one aspect of stress that comes into our lives. So that is what I call the emotional part. An emotional part of stress it's part of it, right? I mean, you cannot eliminate that from the equation, because emotional stress, it happens. And when I say stress, I want everyone to think of, it's a physiological thing that happens to our body, right? So when we say stress, the body reacts regardless of what the kind of stress there is. So, pupils dilate, blood pressure will traditionally usually go up. You go into fight or flight mode. That's essentially what it is. So cortisol levels raise. So that's what I want you to think of as stress. And when something emotional happens, when you get in an argument, when you've got something that is pressing upon you, that's your emotional stress. And so that's the one that I'm talking about first. Okay? Well, and all of it, anytime we talk about stress, those same physiological reactions will happen. And so that's the first one. The second type of stress is physical, right? And so when we talk about physical, that could be a lot of different things. Well, that's what kind of spurred this week. Has been a crazy week in the office of people getting into car accidents, car crashes, and the amount of physical stress that's put onto their systems. I had one patient in particular said that they had a panic attack because of the pain, just the pain and the physical wear and tear, and they thought that they were maybe even having a heart attack, and it turns out that they had said, you know, it was a panic attack, and it is all related to this physical stress. So most people, when they think of physical stress, they think of well, an accident, an injury, or well, those are kind of the big ones: an accident or injury, something physical. Surgery, that's what I was trying to think of. Surgeries will cause that too, that physical stress, where again, elevated cortisol levels, dilated pupils, that type of thing. The last type of stress that I wanted to hit on is chemical stress. Most people don't think of this, or they probably do, they just maybe don't recognize it as the same type of thing as the emotional or the physical stress. But your body really, well, not in my opinion, it shows that the body will react very similarly for chemical stress. Now, chemical stress can be, you know, the air that you breathe. So as I'm out here in the open, probably not a lot of chemical stress upon me. It's a beautiful day and just walking along the river. I guess we got the road, so there are maybe some chemicals coming in, but it's doing really quite well. But the other chemical stress that we can easily talk about is, you know, the food that you eat, the water that you're drinking, or the liquids that you're bringing into your body, and those can cause a lot of stress as well. And so your body will react to that the same way as if you got in a fight or got fired or something. That if your inflammation levels raise up high enough, the body will go into fight or flight, and that causes stress upon the system, and that is a problem. Okay, so when I talk about stress, I like talking about those three. And when you're trying to reduce stress in your life, then you want to reduce all three of those, or at least recognize that there is stress coming from all three. Because if you only, if you think of stress as your emotional stress, and then you recognize that, but don't recognize the stress from the other two places, then you're still going to have the same problem, right? The same problem of too much stress. And too much stress, then chronic stress leads to, illness, sickness, unhappiness. You can't settle your mind. So just want to briefly talk about each one of those, and maybe some ways that not only you can get rid of stress or counteract the stress, but maybe ways again that you may be sabotaging yourself and not even knowing it. So we'll hit with the emotional side, and I've already talked a lot about, I'm big on the meditation right now. That may be my my big thing, but I really do love meditation. So when we talk about emotional stress, and really all three, a great tool to use is meditation. Now, I want to kind of talk about why I think, and a lot of these are opinions. There are a lot of studies being done on meditation. I think when it comes to studies, and we are physical, mental, and spiritual, it's hard to study the spiritual. It's even hard to study, in a lot of ways, the mental, but in a lot of ways you can really study all three of those and know what's going on, and really counteract a lot of what you're doing with meditation. Now, the reason why I really like meditation for helping to counteract stress is because, well, hey, we are creatures of habit, right? We're creatures of habit, and we get stuck in these routines. And we're the only creature, creature on this earth that we can create stress without anything happening to us. Out in nature. And sorry, you're gonna have the sun in my face now. I just turned, but at least you don't have it flashing into the camera anymore. But the stress, it's fight or flight. So when something is chasing, the animal, you gotta, the fox is chasing the rabbit, and the rabbit's cortisol levels, you know, skyrocket and it runs away, and then once it's out of the way, then the stress goes away. And it's, you know, for that rabbit, it's the fox. And it can't, it doesn't think and wake up in the morning and worry about, you know, that project that's due at work. And we, though, there's nothing around us, nothing causing any physical problem or stressor that's really there, and yet we can, you know, we habitually do the same thing. We check our email, we look at social media, and all of a sudden those cortisol levels go up. We create stress. We're chronically stressed that way. And so that's why we use meditation. To me, meditation, alongside, other than the fact that it's just good to settle the mind, in a way, you need to break the cycle that you're in. So, I mean, I'm a creature of habit the same way, but I like to say when I'm doing my meditation and my mind starts to wander, it takes practice, right? So if you're doing meditation, I think a lot of people get frustrated too. They can't settle their mind, but the more that you do it, it's just like anything else. It's kind of like telling your mind, you know, like sit, stay here, focus on your breathing, focus on breath. Don't think about anything else. Don't think about that project that's due. Focus on your breath, and then it will wander and you'll say, no, focus. And that will help to kind of break that cycle so that then you have more control over your mind. Chronic stress goes down, and, you know, emotionally you can handle more. The cortisol levels will drop down, and you'll just feel a whole lot better about things. So that's one way that when you think about stress, I mean, obviously meditation's a huge one. That's an easy one, right? That's low-hanging fruit, so meditation. and I also shared some of the other things, you know, limit the things that bring on stress. I always say to be human is to be stressed. God built us, God designed us to get things done, to have, you know, those elevated cortisol levels. And so, you know, don't necessarily fight the fact that you're gonna have stress, but try to eliminate the chronic stress, the stuff that you do on a daily basis. Like again, in your mind, you're creating the stress. There's not even anything there, but we're creating it. And so don't do those things. Our health is our habits. That was our you know, the last, a few videos ago. Health is your habits, so don't get in the habit of creating stress that's not actually there, okay? And then you want to have things that can counteract the stress, obviously. You go into fight or flight, so I always say, hey, if you're going into fight or flight, your body is demanding that, so, you know, fight or flight, something physical. Get out, take a walk. That's why this walking's great. You know, take a break from whatever you're doing and go do something physical. And that will really help it a lot. And so exercise becomes a huge thing. I'm a big fan of first in the morning. I mean, anyone who's followed me knows that mornings are the key. There's a lot of studies coming out. I saw a speaker talking about, sorry, got a truck going by. Speaker talking about the changes of the amount of stress, or sorry, this one was on sleep, people's ability to sleep, people that worked out in the morning versus in the afternoon. And the morning was just hands down better. They slept better. And so that's, you know, talking about the mind. It helps the mind to settle down. Exercise in the morning, and it doesn't have to be long. They even said 4 or 5 minutes of like Tabata exercises, you know, 4 minutes. So you do, you know, about 30 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and just repeat like squats or jumping jacks, something that's a little high intensity. It doesn't even necessarily have to break a sweat, but just to do exercises in the morning can be very, very helpful. Okay, so meet that fight or flight requirement, get out, do something, break that cycle. Now I want to get though, and here's a hard catch, right? Because then we get into the physical stress, and we talked about that surgery or a car crash, some sort of injury can really lead to a lot of problems. But here's one thing that I didn't know about, and I'm called Dr. Run, Think, Pray. So I like running. I still will be a fan of running. But now you got to be careful of this thing called chronic exercise, right? And I was watching Mark Sisson, who's a big paleo guy, and he kind of did the same thing that I was doing. And it was, his exercise was causing a lot of the stress. Running on a chronic basis, like if you're doing these huge distances and not watching, I think if you balance the other two forms of stress, your emotional and your chemical, you can probably handle the physical stress of chronic exercise better if that's going to be your goal. So if you want to go out and have the goal of running or biking, it's kind of those, you know, endurance athletes, that's chronic stress. And so the thing that kind of triggered me, I watched that, and then I noticed that, man, when I was training for a marathon and running long distances and, you know, doing 30 or 40 or 50 miles plus each week and getting my miles up, I started to get sick more. And getting sick is an indicator that your stress levels are high, because when cortisol levels are up, your immune system goes down, and then you're in trouble, right? And so I started to think about that and go, I have chronic exercise habits. And so I had to be careful of that. So that now lately I've been doing more weightlifting, and that could be considered, you know, if you're not careful with that, but you just want to balance it. The other thing I think is so lately, since the last marathon, my desire to run has gone way down. And I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to fight with my body and say, no, you've got to go run. That's going to create more chronic stress. So I just listen to my body. Well, what do I want to do? Well, it's time to start doing more lifting, more HIIT training. So I showed the high intensity interval stuff. Listen to your body. If you're, you know, feeling stressed, chronic, you know, if you maybe you're having a panic attack or frequently getting sick, it may be time for you to look at your exercise patterns and think, am I chronically exercising, you know, choosing things that are causing physical stress on my body at excess, you know, to excess. And if that's the case, you may want to reconsider, start doing maybe some weight, slow it down, change the direction so that your body can take a rest from that chronic exercise pattern. Obviously, there's a balance there. I think walking would be universally great. So you can even bring it down to walking. I broke it up with weights, and that's helped me a ton. And you know what? When my body starts craving running again, because that was really the indicator for me, is running became a chore. The love that I used to have, the fun, the exhilaration, the euphoria that I would have when I would run started to go away a little bit, and it was kind of sad. And I thought, well, I guess I'm done running. But then I just realized I needed to change my direction and do something different. And so I broke that chronic exercise pattern. So that's the physical one that could be throwing some people off. And then here's the last one. We've got chemical. Now, I'm not going to get off and go into, you know, too many diets. I would say this though. I see fad diets all the time, and I, you know, referenced, you know, Mark Sisson, who talks a lot about paleo, or no, it's ketogenic. There's paleo. There's all these diets, okay? And I'm not gonna bash on any of them, and I'm not gonna endorse any of them. I would say, feel free to try. I mean, and those of you who follow me, again, I've tried some, but here's the discovery that I personally made. None of the fad diets, none of these quote-unquote diets seem to work for me long-term. And I know very few people that are able to do a diet for more than 5 or 6 months. And here's the reason why I think that's true. Well, number one, as we know about your microbiome, that's real big and popular right now. You know, the big popular thing now is the celery stuff, celery juicing, which I think is great. And I like that it's just an addition, you know, to a healthy diet. But microbiome is huge. Well, our microbiome shifts every few months, right? So if that's the case, then what was once healthy and I gotta shift here again, or else I'm gonna start running into lots of cars. So what was once healthy for you, for you know, for your body, may not always be healthy. And so that's a challenge. I encourage anyone to, you know, do your research on yourself. Know your body. Listen to your body. I can promise you that, you know, refined sugar is never going to be good for anyone. So there's some real basics that you'd say, you know, soda, refined sugar. Start with eliminating that. Increase your water intake. These are all universal. I mean, we all need to have, you know, more hydration. So half your body weight in ounces of water. You want to start aiming for that. Eliminate sugar from your diet and things like that. But here's the last thing that I wanted to say on that. And this is where I've kind of found a really happy medium. I used to be one of those real stressors. And if you ask my wife, she may say that I still am. But I feel like I've really toned down how much I am stressing, right, about what I eat. Meaning I still want to be healthy. I'm not going to say that you can just go eat whatever you want and all is well, because that's the, you know, the emotional component of it. But I would say this, that establish what is healthy, eat lots of that, and then allow yourself some wiggle room. The Whole30 diet, and I'm blanking on her name, the gal who came up with the Whole30. I really like her premise. Like in the Whole30, you know, you eliminate almost everything for 30 days and then you start introducing them. But I remember hearing her speak once, and I wish I could remember her name. I'll have to look it up. And she just said, you know, sometimes the emotional stress that we put behind what we're eating. So if you're, you know, emotionally saying, you know, I can't eat that, and you're eliminating yourself from social experiences. Remember, I'd be in a group and I wouldn't want to go in that group because, you know, I was on some extreme diet. I'd be at some church activity and I'd be worried because I'm going, oh man, there's going to be bread and people are going to want me to eat this and that, and so I was stressing myself so much, you know, with the emotional stress, that it really kind of counteracted all the benefit that I would have gotten from, you know, from the healthy diet. And so what I would say is, again, establish yourself as a healthy person. You want people to have you be known as someone who's healthy, and you don't, but then here's the next thing. Don't be a jerk about food, right? Don't be that guy. I know that I've heard that, I always love this. This was my big saying. I would always say, people would say, oh, moderation in all things. And you say that would make you moderately happy or moderately healthy, right? But that's just not true. And so I do think some moderation in all things, but at the same time, you know, establish for yourself what is healthy, and do, you know, pick a diet, pick something healthy. If you're doing keto, then do that. And but if you're going out on a social event, and I know that, you know, some people will say, well, it messes up everything if you're trying to do keto. You want to, you know, be able to be in ketosis, but man, allow yourself some freedom so that you're not emotionally stressed, because you've eliminated that chemical stress, because then you're just gonna sabotage everything. And so that's really, I guess, the few little keys and things that I wanted to talk about stress. So, you know, there's emotional stress, physical stress, and chemical stress. Find a good balance in all of those, or not even balance, just if you can't do it in one of them, you know, if you are stuck in a situation, if you're going through, you know, a divorce, if somebody's passed away, that's a big emotional stress. Control the other two, you know. Go get some exercise, go for a walk. If you're in a chronic exercise pattern, then break it up a little bit. Try something new. try a new exercise routine, and when your body gets used to that and it's not feeling the benefits anymore, then switch it up again. And then, yeah, again, chemically, just allow yourself. Don't create more of the emotional stress because of your paranoia. Don't be that guy. Because I was that guy. Maybe depending on who you talk to, I may still be that guy. But anyway, those are my thoughts on it. I hope they're helpful. And sorry for the back and forth walking. I kind of thought I had a longer trail, and then I'm running into lots of cars that way and lots of cars that way. But it's been a nice little walk, a nice little stroll. Sorry if you get sick of me walking. I tend to do my best thinking when I'm moving, right? So I don't go off any script. I just kind of speak from the heart. And when I'm out walking and moving around, it seems to just flow a little bit better. So anyway, this is Dr. Traveler, Dr. Run, Think, Pray, and I am signing out. Guys, thanks for checking out Dr. Run, Think, Pray. Please like, please subscribe, comment below. If you have any questions, let me know. And always remember to be healthier today than you were yesterday. Be healthier tomorrow than you were today. And this is Dr. Traveler signing out.